Alright, I am back, and I'm just doing a little bit of this. Because, well... Of course. Alright. So, I haven't really done much of this. And you didn't really need to do much of it. So, I didn't really do much of it. But, Intervallo time! Oh, I could easily get... oh my god, I could easily get... 120%, right? No, wait, no, I can't. I can get 40 and 20. Basically, any Sinclair. And then... Ishmael, Family Hierarchy Ishmael, Facial Pack Song. I'll be going for this one, actually. Alright. There's 12 of these, huh? Alright. Let's go. It is time. The hall was chilled with a tense air, and those present all sat in complete silence. Then there was Jia Yuan-tun, with her lips slightly curved into a merciless sneer. And at the center of it all sat Jia Shichun, unsure of what to say next. Well, everyone? Jia Yuan-tun, seated next to the hierarch seat upon which Shichun sat, smoothly takes control of the situation and begins the assembly. Honored heads of houses, lords of each family, their proxies, members, and she nods slightly, acknowledging our awkward presence. And little Shichun's guests, who stay here at our H-Corp, seems to be extending without a foreseeable end. Isn't she technically from Q-Corp? What's up with her acting like she's any less of an outsider than we are? And did everyone catch that RH Corp? Regardless of everything else, the fact that she hijacked the meeting from the get-go is ridiculous, especially with Jia Shichun, family hierarch herself, presiding over this official assembly. Surely she is using the pretense of assisting the hierarch to assert her own dominance over these proceedings. As we are all aware, Venerable former Jia Mu has always discussed with and confided in me about the matters of the greatest import, the momentousness of which steered the very course of H-Corp's prospects. Even after I departed the family for Q-Corp, Venerable former Jia Mu has always written missives to confer such matters with me. Something about it smelled suspicious, but we'd already missed the window to challenge her to present us with proof without breaking decorum. Thus, as it naturally follows that I would be the inheritor of the Venerable Jia Mu's will, I shall be presiding over this regular assembly, which we convene now to discuss and determine the future of H-Corp. What a grandiose and self-important introduction. It seemed clear to me that she considered herself to be the main character of this scene, or something. Your Grace certainly befits your station, Lady Yuan-tun. We are all impressed by your utmost dedication to the citizenry of Hong Yuan, despite your already saturated schedule. We can already thank you enough for your magnanimity, Lady Yuan-tun. Ah, my parents, what a true shame that they couldn't be here. I've always sung praises of your expertise, Lady Yuan-tun. And the responses from the participants are all just as protracted, only obsequious instead of arrogant. As heads of some of those houses were under investigation for consorting with the forces foreign to Hong Yuan, Their vacuum was filled by their children's generation, many of whom we had the pleasure of meeting during the family hierarch war. Very well, then shall we? Welcome Jia Shichun, the next person to sit upon the seat of Hong Yuan's family hierarch. Greetings, I am... Now, let us begin. How rude. For many years, all those who have gathered here have toiled day and night for the eternal prosperity and growth of H-Corp. Jia Shichun's expression immediately sours as Yuan Chun unceremoniously cuts off her self-introduction. First on the agenda for this assembly are urgent discussions and passage of new major policy items that have been tabled for far too long. Distributive contribution rights auctioning policy. Quarterly amnesty policy. Hold on, big sister Yuan Chun. Passing the distributive contribution rights auctioning policy would allow the opening auction for any remaining rooms the day before reconstruction days, and a quarterly amnesty wouldn't do anything but give unfair advantage to certain families and high net worth individuals by guaranteeing them large real estate assignments regardless of their performance in the previous quarter. Shichun serves a little unflustered, but before continuing, my point is, these policies are going to rattle H-Corp's economy the moment they go into effect. Besides, these policies were pretty much drawn to favor lining the pockets of a select few families and high-ranking officials of H-Corp. If I may, venerable hierarch, lining the pockets is quite an odd turn of phrase to refer to the bare minimum of respect the society might repay to its contributing members, don't you think? Oh, before we continue, Shichun, we're not entirely certain if you are aware, but ever since the ascension of the new family hierarch, the perceived value of Hong Yuan has been racing to the, for lack of a better word, rock bottom. Clearly, this demonstrates Hong Yuan's concern and its lack of faith in the newly appointed family hierarch. Therefore, it naturally follows that our most urgent task at hand is to put a stop to this value and reputation freefall and restore prosperity and greatness to Hong Yuan once again. Yeah, okay, and that's the family hierarch's job, right? Why are you... If you had perused H-Corp's articles of association, you would have known that, should H-Corp be deemed to be in a state of crisis, the four great houses and the board of directors' voice may also carry de facto power in the assembly. And the board of directors, that's us, has determined that we are now in a state of crisis. State of crisis? What crisis? Everything that led to my ascension to the family hierarch was legitimate, down to final approval. These unseemly rumors and slander are taking our valley, which we have built up assiduously through years upon years of toil. So what is this, if not a state of crisis? And who wouldn't doubt the new family hierarch's qualities when this decline has coincided precisely with her ascension? Yuan Chun was somehow turning the room against Shichun without presenting a single shred of evidence, portraying her as some burdensome hierarch who was single-handedly tanking H-Corp's value. No one in the assembly, not a single representative from any families present, stepped up to point out how Jia Shichun's swift actions were what finally repelled the outside forces that had marched right up to Hong Yuan's front yard, or how she deftly maneuvered her forces to quell the embers of war by quickly taking control of the chaos within Daguan Yuan. She hadn't shown any glaring signs of incompetence since her ascension despite her relative inexperience, but... Everyone in Hong Yuan's board of directors, the heads of each family, averted their eyes as though all that had somehow inconceivably slipped their minds. So you take yourself to be a qualified individual for that responsibility, Shichun? Very well, then proceed. We are all waiting for you to begin your briefing before the assembly regarding the last 30 years' quarterly net revenue records for Hong Yuan singularity-related businesses, your calculations on next year's fiscal debt forecasts, and the exact recipe and variation of numbers for the bonuses that have been registered in the last 5 years. The fuck you talking about? That's, The Venerable Hierarch has not received that data prior to the meeting. You must all be aware of the chaos that followed the Ascension. We are still indexing all available materials to... Isn't that funny? Not once in the history of Hongyuan has Family Hierarch ever failed to provide immediate and detailed answers regarding Hongyuan's historical statistics. Yuan-Chin must have known all along, too. He must have known how the previous family hierarchs were all directly supplied with an immense repository of information through the Huang worm or something of the equivalent. And she's using it to target Shi-Chun's weakness, knowingly asking questions she, the first family hierarch without yet a nominal worm, couldn't possibly answer. The responsibilities tied to the venerable seat of the hierarch, Jiamu, are matched only by the great power bestowed upon it. Thus, how are we to leave the matters of the wing to someone who is so evidently unprepared for the task? Given the present circumstances, our hands may be forced to call to vote the motion of no confidence. Motion of no confidence. Motion of no confidence, when passed by the high-ranking political officials, can result in the removal of the chief executive from office. They're going after Shi-Chun's power. So this is a picture of Jia Yuan-Chun, the one to paint. Impotent family hierarch stammering and stumbling go through her first meeting. The total and near unanimous lack of support for the H-Corp board of directors. Whatever jargon they're on about. Seems to me they've got not an ounce of respect for the lads or us. Never trust twice overly obsessed with numbers and optimizations. They'll be the first ones to kick you out at the moment they no longer see you as useful. Shit. You're not the only one who's pissed off. So can you please stop shaking your leg for a second? No need to make our frustration any more obvious, you know. My arse would have left the chair long ago if it weren't for this, lads. In H-Corp, should the board of directors unanimously vote in favor of the motion, certain parts of the family hierarch's power will be removed. It is entirely possible that she will become a hierarch in name only. Oh, so they're threatening to fire her unless she falls in line. There's some needlessly convoluted way to... The Assembly will now consider the motion of no confidence. Are there any objections to bringing the motion of no confidence against Family Hierarch Jia Shi-Chun to the floor? But hold on, the vote of no confidence isn't an item you can invoke so lightly. The Shi family has no objections. Let's say the Wang family has no objections either. Wait, the Shui family too. What the fuck? The rest of the previous family heads seems to have changed precisely nothing. Those in power wore more useful faces, but their tongues still carried the same old resistance to change. The new family heads were just as uncooperative as ever, and everyone seemed to be solely interested in staying in Jia Yuan-Chun's good graces. New faces, same old. And needless to say, Heathcliff wasn't the only sinner fuming with rage. 'Tis far too vexing to simply watch and do naught. Right? I knew you wouldn't let this slide, Don Quixote. They're walking all over Shi-Chun like he's not even here. Forsooth, we cannot let such injustice transpire unabated. Hey, seems like we were both on the same page. Uh-oh. That's it. I'm not going to hesitate to make myself heard again. Oh no. This time I want to be courageous with your help, Don Quixote. Oh no! Come on, let's do this together. Okay. Oh no! Very well. I'm in agreement. Yeah, then let's go on 3 at the same time. As there are no objections. 1, 2. The Assembly will put this resolution to vote in a month, then. In a month! In a month! 3. Oh, have you gone mental? Objection! Sinclair stood tall at the center of the entire room's undivided astonishment. Alone. What the fuck, Don Quixote? Eh? Don Quixote, still firmly in her seat, gazed upon Sinclair's proud stand, or rubbed her nose. Young Sinclair, thou hast evolved indeed. What an unmitigated pursuer of justice thou hast become. with such unrelenting fervor and utter disregard for decorum. Certainly, mine efforts have finally borne fruit. What the hell? Did Don Quixote or Heathcliff suddenly rub off on you or something? No, wait, no! What happened there, Don Quixote? What happened to objecting together? Oh, I had taken thy suggestion to mean that we must voice our dissatisfaction through the official channels, borrowing the titles of the illustrious Red Gaze and the Department of OCC. Disputes in the succession of power on such a high level of government are hardly ever resolved with rash grandstanding. Wouldst thou not disagree? Why are you normal all of a sudden? Lad, what just happened? What happened to the clammy meek boy? Well, that's... I guess I just assumed that this is how Limbus Company rolls now. There seems to have been an unexpected outburst from Chichun's guests. Withdraw your objection and we will consider this a momentary loss of control. Not enter it as an official statement. It was, Sinclair's eyes are shaking like someone with his life on the line. If not, I take it that you have full confidence in her abilities. So please, I encourage you to elaborate. When and how will Shi-Chun demonstrate her aptitude for the responsibilities of the family hierarch? His voice continues to shrivel into a corner. You can't, and how could anyone? How could anyone, when we all had a very clear view of her path to ascension? During the family hierarch evaluation, Jia Baoyu donated the coins he received from Jia Chu to you. Essentially, you pity-partied your way to victory. But pity-partied? And for your ascension, Jia Chu and those outsiders from an upstart company had to almost literally carry you to the seat. Has there even been a single victory attained by your own hands in that entire process? Ah, but we have not all been witnesses to the qualities she exhibited during the family hierarch evaluation of her own ascension. You must have no shame seeing your forked tongue in the audience of both heaven and earth like an unwitting buffoon. I don't know who this is. That's when quiet, even footsteps broke through wait, is that Jia? Oh, no. Ah, but we have not all been witnesses. Have we not all been witnesses to the qualities she exhibited during the family hierarchy evaluation at her own ascension? You must have no shame, snaking your forked tongue in the audience of both heaven and earth like an unwitting buffoon. There we go. Much better. Anyway. Even footsteps broke through Jia Yuan Chun's merciless dismantling of Jia Shi Chun. Yet, I see the point. The hierarch, with her grace, needs only demonstrate her already established qualifications before all. There's no place for an outsider to speak, but proceed. Just how will she prove herself before us? What an odd statement coming from a fellow outsider who's been chattering for minutes on end. Forgive me, I could only presume for your verbosity that the right to speak in this forum was open to all outsiders. She... Good. Calling her out. You have said it yourself, no? That the vote on the no confidence resolution will proceed in a month. That seems to give the venerable hierarch a month to regain the trust of each family. What? It is rather clear to me that there are many who find their own defeat in the family hierarch war difficult to accept. Such a doubt is easily resolved. A match between clans should lay out the results quite obviously. Very well. A fair challenge between clans, which would preclude the participation of the family hierarch's facial pacts and the Jialan guards. So you would remove her POW and DU before the game even begins? Why not make this test a series of sparring matches in both academia and martial arts if such is the case? Ha, what audacity. You truly have that much faith in Jia Shi-Chun's abilities? You must know the consequences of failing these matches, no? It would be a unanimous, one-sided end to the vote of no confidence. And naturally, any and all rights appertaining to the family hierarch shall be transferred to the board of directors. That is fine by us. You are free to choose any champion whom you see fit. Unfortunately, your underlings don't seem to share your inflated confidence. But in the midst of the confused, flabbergasted silence from the other sinners, a clear, carefree, yet defiant voice rings out. Hong Lu's retort. That's not true at all, big sister Yuan-chun. We actually have just as much confidence in Chi-chun as she does. His wide eyes stared directly and unblinkingly into Jie Yuan-chun's. It occurred to me that this might be his way of expressing an anger. Impudent child. How dare he stare me down like that? You are welcome to try. 1 month. You have but 1 month to prove before all an audience that she is indeed fit to be the family hierarch. Should you fail, the vote may as well be a mere formality. In other words, should she successfully prove herself, none of you shall again rightly challenge the independent rights and powers bestowed upon the family hierarch. The consequences of such recalcitrance would be no different from those that the traitors are facing, wouldn't you agree? Well then, you'll excuse yourselves now. Wait, I'm... Zigong turns around toward us with that same mysterious smile and slowly directs us outside the assembly hall. You may call them sparring matches, but you must know that each and every one of them is a test to prove your claim to the seat of the family hierarch. A month is a time far too brief for drastic improvement, regardless of for whom it may be. Learning from a proper master for 10 months straight might teach you a few things, but who knows how long the search for one such master might take. Not to mention the official channels through which you must bring them past Daguan Yuan's walls, which may take up to 2 months. Why not relent now and relinquish but a part of your powers as the family hierarch to the board of directors? It seems that this fellow outsider's mental faculties are impressively lacking. My lord has spoken in the past that when in the presence of 3 people, at least one of them is bound to be a teacher of mine. Here they are, aren't they? Jie Chi-chun's masters, each carrying something new to teach her. All 13 of them. Ha! Zigong gestured confidently toward the flabbergasted sinners, and the assembly came to an end. Wow. Well, 12 teachers. Are you sure it's not? Well, to be fair, she can't really hear. Yeah. You're planning to train Chi-chun anyway, but it seems that we are now under an unexpected deadline. Hey, when you said the LCB was going to help me out, did you guys mean that you were going to publicly humiliate the crap out of me at the assembly? Of course not, Chi-chun. Big Sister Yuan-chun's an old snake. You've just given her 30 days to set the perfect stage for my downfall. To prove to the world once and for all that I'm not qualified at all to be the family hierarch. But Chi-chun, weren't you always so good at humbling anyone who dared underestimate you? Not so much anymore. Back then, like an idiot, I thought I just had to hold on with everything I had. Thought that's all I ever had to do, but now, things are different. It's true that I'm vastly underqualified to be the family hierarch, and she's right. I pretty much lucked into this position. Chi-chun, don't